Hi there, it's Dr. Everybody. We're going to take a look at Project 8, and in this one we're exercising dictionaries, how to play around with them a little bit. This is a file-based assignment, and we are going to going to read some files and write some files and do some transactions. So we're going to have some information in this old file, and then there's going to be a bunch of transactions that are going to be done. If we're asked to report anything, that will show up in the reports file, and at the end any of the changes we've made will show up in the new file. So if we go and actually look at the file, so there's a little sample here. Everybody's got an ID, everybody has a department, a salary, and a name. Names, just to make it a little more challenging, this guy doesn't have a middle name, this one just has a middle initial, she's got a middle name. And then the transactions will say something like, oh, make a report by name or make a report by number. Update the salary. So take this person with this ID, that would be this person, and then change their salary to that. And same type of thing. Okay, change their department, update the department of this employee. So we look up their ID, work off of that, change their department, and so on. We might insert a new employee, and there's all the relevant information about them, and so on, and then write a report. And in a report file, this was my dummy one. It's not anywhere near complete, but it asked for a report by name, so I just printed out the names. No formatting. You're going to have to do formatting, but this is just my first pass. And notice that was alphabetical by name, and then report by number. Those are in order by number. And then we did some transactions, and we have a different set of people, again ordered by name. And so the basic flow is we start with some employees, we look at some transactions, we write some reports, and then we create a new file at the end. As an example, I'm going to do something completely different, all right, that has all these characteristics in it. And that is to notice this particular piece of information. So we have in the file the capability to do, we talk about resources, right? And we have the departments. So for example, we have Department 35 is Research and Development, Department 33 is Human Resources, and so on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that information into a file. I'm going to read that file, and then I'm going to take that and put it into a dictionary. So it will be something, like my dictionary will say the number 35. I'm thinking I'll leave it as a digit. Maybe I'll want it as a number, but I think not. And that will have the string research and development, and then we would have 33 is human resources, etc. Right? And then eventually I'd finish off with some curly braces, and I might call this, I don't know, departments equals that. And in fact, this is how you'd put that into your, if you wanted to create a dictionary like this in your code, you'd probably do it this way. But I'm going to do it the other way just to show you how we can read in a file. We can create a dictionary from that. So let's take a look at that process. First thing I need to do is to create the file. I just created a file that I call depts.text, so let's open that guy up. I always do this just to see how I'm doing. right? And so I can see that that this file I've successfully read it. Now, what I'd like to do is, I opened it and printed this stuff in it. So let's create a dictionary. I'll call it my department's dictionary. And we'll start with it as empty, like we've always done before. So we're going to do the same type of process that we've done before. With strings, we started with an empty string, and then we added to it. With counts, we started with 0, and we'd add 1 to it. With lists, we started with an empty list and appended. And now with departments, with dictionaries, we've got to do things a little bit different. Now, in this case, I want to have the key as the department number. So let's, as we always do, we'll make a line list out of this. This is space separated, and now let's print out what we have. And when I take a look at this, you can see that we got a couple of interesting things. One is that there's some weirdness with my file in that in creating it. So I better let me go and fix that, because we can see that we've got 2 lines are the same. There we go. That'll work better. That was just in creating the file. Now let's run that again. There we go. That looks a little bit better. But notice that in this case, I actually, I would like the names like research and development to be one string and not individual strings. So how might I do that? Well, in this case, those are the last fields, so I could do something like name equals my line list, and let's see, if we did the slice from 1 to the end, and now let's just print the name. How does that look? All right, that's looking, so I did manage to get the name. How might I put them together? Well, one thing we can do is build a string. So name string is blank for n in name, name string plus equals my n, and let's put a blank character on there. And this time, let's print the name string. That looks a little bit better. So I've successfully created a name as a string. And so I can go back now if I want to, and I can say, oh, what's my department ID? That was my line list, the very first item in there. And so now let's print department ID and name string. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. Now what I'd like to do is create a dictionary with the department ID as its as the key. So how do I do that? Well, the first thing I do is I say is the department ID in my dictionary? All right. Actually, let's start out. What if it's not in my dictionary? All right. If it's not in my dictionary, then let's put it in there. And we do that by saying add the ID. And in this case, my value is very simple. It's just the name string. Now, many times you'll have a more complex value there. In fact, in many cases, I use a list in there, or sometimes even another dictionary. You have to decide that this is a very simple case. Now, usually we'll, you know, if it's in there, I may do something to it. Like when we counted words in the book, then I might, you know, give it an initial value if it's not in there, and then increment it if it is in there. In this case, we have a problem. All right, because it's already in the dictionary, that means I've got 2 department IDs, and there's a problem. Let's see what this looks like. Well, what does my departments dictionary look like? And now we can see that I have created something hopefully useful. So I said print this out, and we see, so for the key of a string 37, I have the value is shipping and receiving. For 32, it's accounting. Notice this is in a different order than I put things in, and that's because dictionaries have no order, and will you know, Python stores stuff in an efficient manner, and you know, we don't know what kind of order that it's in. So now how do I use my dictionary that I just created? Well, if I give it an ID, say like 35, and notice I've left these not as integers but actually as strings of digits. So if I look at that, and it gives me back research and development. So if I'm printing, you know, if I'm going through in the problem for the program, you know, if I want to, you know, if I see that somebody has their department ID is 35, then when I'm printing the results, I want to, you know, I can use this dictionary to do that. So what I've shown you here is a way for me to open a file, parse out some information in it, and put it into a dictionary, and then now I can use it as a dictionary. You know, as a useful, hopefully useful piece of information. It would be good to close that file. If I want to do some output, it's just outputting information. So let's open a file for writing. Except this time I'm going to open it for appending, so I can write to it multiple times. And you know, how in fact does that work? Well, let's print the D of 35, and we'll print it to out file. And I could in fact close that. And then later on reopen it. Oops. I see I got a little error thing over here. I forgot to say file equals. Alright, that'll make that happier. And then I'm just going to take this and copy it. Alright. So it's still unhappy. D. Oh, it doesn't know what D is. Yes. Name of my thing is departments. There we go. Quote. Departments. There we go. Okay, so now my error messages are gone. And so what I'm doing is I'm opening the file, I'm writing something to it, closing it, opening the file, writing something to it, and closing it again. And this would be similar to if you're going in and doing transactions, you write a report, you write the stuff out to the report file, and then close it. Oh, let's print something different here. Let's go number 34 also. And if we take a look at this, again, I can see that my my department's dictionary is there. And if I go and open this file, which I don't, let's see here, open dot. If I go and look at my file, which I called dummyout.txt, then let's blow this up a little bit. You can see that I put out, notice that when I printed this out, that I was just printing the value, which is just the name of the department, and I didn't put anything in between there. So let's maybe after every one of these, I should just print a new line character. Let's do something like that. Or maybe in my case, let's do something like that, just so we can see a little better that we're doing things. And now when I look at this file, I see that, yep, there we go. We've got, I keep adding on to it. Notice what happened here. So, because I kept appending to this file, that was what I did the very first time, and then I came back and I opened the file for appending, and then I wrote the first thing, some equal signs, character turn, and then the second piece of information. So as long as I'm appending, it will just keep adding on and adding on. And if that's what you want to do, that's a nice way to go. So what have I done here? I've shown you how you can open a file, create a dictionary, write some stuff out with it. That should give you an idea of how to get started. Good luck with it.